So let's have a look at editing a single image. If we go over to the right hand side, which is all the information on editing, you've got the histogram and you've got these checkboxes. If I uncheck them, these are actually this one is for the blacks area and this one is for the white area. It's always worth having these on because you can see then areas that are needing attention. So for instance, our whites, you can see that this red color is completely blown out here. So this is where I start putting my attention to first. So here we've got the exposure, contrast, highlights, shadows, whites, blacks, and we've got clarity, dehaze, vibrance, and saturation. So I'm going to bring down the highlights, and as you can see, the histogram at the top here moves. So I bring it down to around about 60%, and then the whites I can bring up the image a little bit. I think I would probably want it around about there. Do that about 34, and then the whites, just bring that down a little bit, and then the blacks, and now you can see if I bring down the slider, that blueness shows that it's over black, so just take it back. So those are the adjustments within this part of the image. Might just look to bring the exposure down slightly, bring some color back here, and then using dehaze you can actually bring a little bit more of that sky in, so you can see the clouds and obviously you've got the sunlight there. So if we use this, but scroll down to the next thing that I would look at, which is the sharpness. Now you've not got this set at 40%, radius 1.0, detail 25%, and then you've got masking. If you now hold down the option key and then just move the cursor, you can see the image starting to come back. So you can see detail. Now I normally go around about sort of just over 50%. And then you can see, if I just zoom in there, you can see the detail has come back. If I take that back down, you can see how it's changed on the edges there. So if I go now, just bring that in. Just shows a bit more detail in the image. Sometimes you will see there is a slight change that you need to just correct. So those blacks we just need to pull down a little bit more. And that's there. The next thing I would look at is Luminous. Now, there are different colors within the image. You've got red, orange, yellow, green, aqua, blue, purple, and magenta. They're all colors that make up a color image. If I move the reds down to the bottom, can't really see much difference in there. But if I move the orange, you can see in the background here how much that brings up. So I'm going to just bring that down, and I'm going to leave a little bit of orange not too much, and then bring in some yellows, and then the greens, again, if I go right over, you can see how the image will change slightly, especially on this grass area here. So I may just bring that round about there. And then you've got the aquas. And you can see there's a little bit something going on up here. So again, just bring a little bit of that. Then the blues, if I bring it right down, you can see how that comes. Again, just a little bit of that. And then the purples, and you can see that's affecting this area. So bring that to about, there are only small adjustments, but just enough to make a difference. And then you can see again over the top here, the magentas. So bring that there. Now, if I zoom in and just look at some of the picture, I'm not sure you can see this on your screen, but there is a bit of graining to the image. And there's a way to fix that just slightly, and that is by going to reduce the noise. So again, holding the Option key, you now notice it turns to black and white, and I'm just looking to see how much I can get away with without over expecting the image. So I could just come out of that. The detail's still there, so I'm leaving that at 13%. And then if we come down further, we've got our lens correction. Always click on Remove Chromatic Aberration. This is a kind of fringing that happens in some images. And then you've got Enable Profile Correction. Now this says built in, and basically Lightroom has nearly every lens by every manufacturer that's come out in a library. So you can see you've got Apple, Bauer, DJI, Fuji, Google, Huey, Leica, Nikon. So that, you know, there's a huge list there. But they have actually included DJI. And as you can see with the F3 350, if I just click that back, how it's changed, it's just that warped. And then if I change that, say, to 306, go back to 350, there's not much difference. There is a slight with the 330, and then if I go with the FC200, you can see there's a vast difference there, very overwarped. So I'm going to go back to the 350, and that I'm just looking at the skyline to see whether it looks kind of equal. So let's try the 3500. It still kind of looks a little bit sort of arched. I'm not sure that it's actually correct there. So there is a way of correcting this horizon. If you see that it looks a little bit bowed, what you can do is you can go to the vertical, and if you just adjust. If I take it the other way, in fact, that maybe that. You can see that it still looks quite bowed, but if I come the other way, that actually looks, as the computer catches up, it does look a little bit kind of normal. So what I do then is go up here, which is the crop tool, and I'm just going to bring in the edges. I can bring this down by dragging, so I'm not losing too much of the image. And then when you're happy with that, just press enter. So that now looks a little bit sort of more level. Again, if you feel that it's slightly at angle, if you just put your cursor outside and you've got this sort of arch look, and if you press on the screen and if you look at the tower, you can see that it's slightly misshapen. So just, if you sort of roll it, you can actually just straighten that up. And then press enter again. Detail is always in the image, they say. So you need to just crop this a little bit more. And we'll bring it over here. And then press enter. So that I'm reasonably happy with. Now, what else can we do? So let's now look at some other tools that we can play with. If we go up here, we've got this tool, which is like an eyedrop, and this is to remove unwanted objects from your image. It's like a clone stamp tool, and the way this works is that you can increase the, if we go back up here, we can increase the size of the circle, we can feather it a little bit, we've got our opacity there as well. So I'm just going to leave that about 20. And let's just say that we wanted to remove this flag holder. So I just need to make the tool a little bit bigger so that it catches it, and then just click. And then what it does, it chooses an area in the image that it thinks is right to fill that area. I don't always agree with that, because it's now sort of picked a sort of tree stump, and I'm going to move that over to about here because that looks roughly about the area. If I think I haven't got enough of it, if I do the back key, it will disappear. And we can just make that tool a little bit bigger. I think we still need to go a little bit bigger again. Okay, so click on that. Now this time it's actually chosen a better area, and then you can reset it or close it. I'm going to close it, and now you can see that that's gone pretty well. You can go back, and if you want to bring it back again, just press reset, and it will bring the flagpole back. The next one is red eye, which if you're doing landscape, you're not going to be really going to be using that. The next one is, this is quite an interesting one actually. This is a sort of to do a gradient, and sometimes I find it's really useful. I'm going to do this as a new one. And I'm going to set that exposure back to 0. And I'm going to choose this tool, and basically what you do is you go to the top of the image and just pull down a line. You can adjust this. I'm going to adjust it slightly to an angle, and then you can see now this box has lit up. So I can just bring the exposure down a little bit, and you can see that actually what it's doing is just bringing that cloud cover in. Now if I adjust this, you can see how much of the image will change, and move it around. I can then adjust it to be straight, but if you do it at an angle, it just gives the light as it was, that is the sunlight coming through, so this area would potentially be darker. So just do that, and then you could just bring down the contrast a little bit if you wanted to. I don't think it really makes much difference. You could bring down the highlights, just bring them up slightly. Again, I don't really think that needs to be done. And you got the whites. But it's normally just the exposure you need to make a slight adjustment. And then when you're done with that, just press close. So you can see that's made quite a difference to that sky area. It's brought it up quite nicely. It's brought it up quite nicely. So next is a brush which is to do almost like a vignette around the image. So if I just pull a circle and then grab this, bring that into the middle, take the sides out and take it up to the top, just take it out to the sides, and again I can just play with the exposure, and that just gives us sort of a little vignette look to an image, if that's what you wish to have the look of to it. You can always go back to it. If you don't like it, just click reset and it brings your image back. So the next tool is the brush. Now you can use this for what's called dodging and burning, which is what I do a lot of in my images in Photoshop, and it's just playing about with the exposure, just bringing the exposure down. I'm going to put my flow at about 20%. Well, we'll put it even a little bit higher, about 30%, so you can see what I'm doing. So I'm going to paint here, and hopefully you can see it's darkening these areas that I'm choosing. So I'm darkening the areas that I want, We'll just do one down here. So anything that's dark, paint dark, a little bit here, there. And then once I've done that one, I'm going to do a new, and then I'm going to take it up the exposure. So now that I can lighten things. So click on here. Just painting. I can reduce the size of my brush. Just doing the edges. And I think that's about it. I think we'll do one more. So do new. I'm just going to bring it down. So I'm going to burn, and I'm just going to bring this down. Just paint a little bit of the shadows of the tower. Okay, so I'm going to close that. So now let's do a before and after. So you can see now we've brought in the sky. We've just brought in these houses. We've lightened up these trees, given a little bit of shadow to the tower. Just bringing that gradient in, and again it's brought in the sky. We've done some sharpening. We've done some color adjustments. And that's the original, and this is the finished one. So that is how I go about editing my images within Lightroom. So we'll just come out of that. Clicking one. So let's have a look at bracketing images and blending those together.